In this video, we're actually going to show you how to build this elevated raised bed. But first, let's review the materials and tools you'll need for this project. Here in front of you are all the tools and supplies that you'll need to build that project. On the far side, a circular saw or a chop saw if you have one, a stapler, a drill, a couple clamps, tin snips, ruler, some hinges, a T-square, some safety glasses, some drill bits, some screws, some gloves if you want them. In terms of the supplies, we're going to be thinking about two 10-foot pieces of half-inch PEX tubing. This will be forming the hoops that'll cover our structure when we're done. The half-inch hardware cloth, some premium landscape fabric or weed barrier. The white material there, that's actually the row cover. That's going to actually give us the frost and freeze protection we've been talking about, as well as exclude some of those insects, diseases, and weeds. In terms of the wood, we've got some furring strips back here. We've got just some plain decking boards, treated 1x6. We've got some 2x2 pieces of wood, and we've got some 4x4 pieces as well. Those will be the posts that support the raised bed. Using 6 8-foot long 1x6 inch decking boards, we'll cut them into 54-inch pieces and 42-inch pieces that will serve to create the raised bed box itself. With the remaining 4 decking boards, we'll cut them into 42-inch pieces, and they will serve as the planks for the bottom of the raised bed box. With the 2 6-foot long 4x4s, we'll cut those in half, making 4 36-inch long pieces that will eventually become the legs of the elevated raised bed. Next, we move the wood to the chop saw, where before cutting, give it a quick inspection to see if there's any staples in the wood. If so, remove them. Finally, line up your saw blade with your mark on the wood and cut all the decking boards and the 4x4 posts. Don't forget the old adage, measure twice, cut once. When we finish cutting, we should end up with 6 54-inch deck boards, 14 42-inch long deck boards, and 4 36-inch long 4x4 posts that will be used for the legs. Finally, all the pieces are cut, and now it's time to assemble the raised bed box. I'm going to try to put all of the individual pieces together in a panel and then bring the panels together and fasten them, thinking that might be a little bit easier. Okay, I managed to get the two sides together. Now I'm going to go ahead and tack them together. First I'm going to drill the holes. This is going to be screwing near the edge of this wood, and I don't want that to split, so I'm going to put one up here, one down at the bottom to try to secure this panel to that panel. Okay. Now I'll finish drilling all these and filling these with screws, and then just repeat the process 3 more times. Getting ready to put on the 4th and final side. I'll do this one plank by plank, securing this side first and then squaring it up on that edge over there. We finally finished building the raised bed box. Wow, that was some work. Now let's go ahead and put the bottom on, and the bottom is going to be the part that holds the soil. So we want to make sure it's strong enough to carry the weight of the potting mix and not fall down. So we're going to be putting pieces on the edges all the way through the center, and that's going to carry the weight of that soil. Like the other woodwork we've done, we're going to want to pre-drill these before we put the screws in so we don't stand a chance of cracking the wood. At this point in the project, 4 of the bottom boards are in, 2 on the ends and the 2 next to them that will support the legs. And the way we're going to do that are these 4x4 posts that we have that are 3 feet tall. I'm going to cut a notch that's 16 inches long and 1 inch deep into each one of these legs. That's the exact size of the side of this box, and then the 2 will fit right next to each other. We'll screw the leg into the box, giving you a very solid, steady support. I've got the 4 legs put together. I'm going to make 1 inch and 1/8 cut across all these at the same time. Then we'll flip these boards over and cut the other side and then take that notch out. so all the cutting has been done. Let's see how good we did here. I think we went 3 for 4. So with this one here, there's a little bit of attachment here at the bottom where the saw blade can't reach. I'll go in there with my hand saw and I'll just cut that right out. Okay, well, here's the final result. You can see the notches are set about 1 inch in, about 16 inches down. The box will rest right here. You can see that the inside is nice and smooth. I had to hit these with a little bit of sander just to kind of take out some of the rough spots, but basically it came out really nice. Had to do a little bit of massaging with the hand saw, but really only a few minutes worth of that. So that was a good technique. Now let's go ahead and take these pieces here and attach them to the main raised bed box. Here's one of the legs that we just notched out. This is going to attach right to the second board here that we already spaced out a couple inches from the first board as we attached it. So I'm going to go ahead and put a temporary screw down here to hold this in place. And then from the back side I'm going to put 6 screws in and hold and anchor this leg to the box. That should be more than enough to provide stability and security of the leg to the raised box and be able to hold the potting soil once we get it in there. The next few scenes are of me attaching the legs, pre-drilling the back to make the screws go in a little bit easier. This is a little bit awkward trying to reach over the box and attach the legs. You can see that I occasionally use the level to make sure that each leg is nice and straight, and I think it worked out pretty well. Okay, I've gone ahead and spaced out the remaining boards, and they're about 1 inch, 1.5 inches apart. It doesn't have to be anything scientific. You're just trying to spread out the remaining space with these 4 boards, and that's going to distribute the weight of the potting soil evenly across the raised bed. So here's our completed elevated raised bed. And if you remember, even though the bottom is on, it's got 1 to 2 inch gaps between all the wooden slats. And so if we were to dump any potting mix in here right now, it'd go right through. To prevent that, we're going to cut out some of this 1/2 inch hardware cloth, lay it across the bottom. We're then going to take and line the bottom with this landscape fabric. And what that's going to do is actually hold the soil, but yet allow the water to drain out of it. So for the hardware cloth, we're going to go ahead and use our tin snips, and regular scissors will cut the landscape fabric. Okay, I've temporarily tacked in the liner. I think it looks all right. I'm going to go ahead though and put another layer of this fabric on the bottom because there's going to be a lot of weight with that potting mix in there, and I don't want it to rupture through the fabric. We've just moved the project from the garage out into the landscape. Even though these 4x4 posts are treated, I went ahead and set them on patio block to prevent any unnecessary deterioration of the legs. Here's one last tip. If you have any extra weed barrier laying around, you might want to consider putting some beneath the bed so you don't have to get under here and pull weeds out. Then just throw a handful of mulch on it to keep it in place. Our goal now is to fill this with potting mix and then get some plants into it. Potting mix is a soilless media which is lighter and fluffier than topsoil, therefore better suited for a raised bed. I'm transferring some of the potting mix from another raised bed project and adding about 6 bags of new mix to this bed. The total volume of this elevated raised bed is about 23 cubic feet. You can use your hands or a shovel to spread the potting mix level in the bed as you go. Wow, that was a lot of work. Those bags are pretty big, and it rained the last couple of days, and so they're nice and heavy. But they're finally in, and so where I'm at is just below the top ring here, maybe up onto that top ring a little bit, which gives us a good 10-12 inches of soil depth. And again, I like to keep that down from the edge a little bit because as you add compost to it every year, you don't want the soil to kind of spill out over. So we'll let this go for the first year, and if we decide to add some more soil, that'll probably be in the spring of next year. We've gone ahead and transplanted a bunch of different kinds of lettuce in this bed. I think it looks really good. It's at a nice working height for me, so no bending over, back's not sore, knees aren't hurt. And I think if you tackle this in your backyard, put one in your landscape, you're going to like it for several years too. Here is a quick project summary. The elevated raised bed with the materials I used cost about $250, with nearly a third of that cost going toward the potting mix alone. If you use different materials, your costs will change. Because we used treated wood, this elevated raised bed should last about 5 to 10 years. There are a lot of designs out there using a lot of materials, so build the one you like most. This project should take about 10 to 14 hours to build, so it can easily be done in a weekend with just a few tools. If you decide to add the row cover to reap the additional benefits of season extension in the spring and fall, and keep some of the pests off your plants, that will take a few more hours. While there are certainly ergonomic benefits to building this bed, if you want to build an ADA compliant elevated raised bed, the finished height needs to be between 27 to 34 inches tall. If you are interested to learn more about the row cover top that can be added to the raised bed, keep an eye out for our third video in the series, adding a weather and pest-proof top to your elevated raised bed.